Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Another move forward here in Montana to bring an end to the missing persons crisis.
Tonight, community members across our region came together in Billings to gather knowledge, weigh in on the issue, and build support to stop it.
The Montana Department of Justice website lists close to 150 missing persons across the state.
Well, today, that newly formed task force met in Billings to get some work done. After decades of concern, Montana lawmakers passed a bill last year to create the Missing Indigenous Persons Task Force.
The Attorney General has appointed representatives from every tribe in Montana. Now, a lot of the talk earlier today focused on the search and rescue resources available and how to best use them. Q2's David J. was there tonight where families and friends talked about their concerns with searching for missing loved ones. David?
Russ, Jeanelle, coordination of the agencies and a quick response are some of those concerns shared at the task force meeting earlier today and this evening by the community. Montana Department of Justice personnel explained the issues that the Montana Missing Indigenous Person Task Force is addressing. Of the nearly 150 missing, 40 are Native American, and out of that, 21 are male and 19 are female. The Department of Justice and the task force are trying to find missing persons and determine what leads to their disappearances.
We heard a lot of discussion today about meth and drugs in communities and how that's contributing to missing persons cases. We've also heard from around other communities, human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of those things contribute to missing persons. And so we're really looking for ways to better address all of those issues.
Task Force finishes its two-day meeting tomorrow at the Doubletree. The agenda shows a chance for public comment on a couple of issues, including those community meetings. Russ, Jeanelle?
All right, thank you, Dave. And that meeting tomorrow runs from 8:30 in the morning until 3 p.m. at the Doubletree Hotel. It is open to the public.
Well, the dollars are adding up on the Montana campaign trail. Less than 4 months from now, two Democrats will go face-to-face for their party's nomination for governor. Tonight, Q2's Jay Cohn brings us a closer look at the race behind the scenes where the money hits the road.
We all need to do.
Whitney Williams burst onto the Montana political scene this fall when she announced her bid for governor. While she's a new face, her family ties run deep in Montana politics. Father Pat Williams represented Montana in the U.S. House for nearly 2 decades. And her mom, Carol, served in the state legislature for 8 years and has the honor of becoming the state's first female Senate Majority Leader. So it's really no surprise that Whitney's raking in the cash for her bid at the governor's chair. Over the last 3 months of 2019, the Williams campaign raised $439,000, with donations coming in from 29 states. Nearly 3/4 of her total, though, comes from outside Montana. $107,000 from California, $87,000 from Washington State. Her Montana donations totaled $104,000. By comparison, Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney had raised $451,000 by year's end, about 80% of that from Montana donors. While his donations have come in from 44 states, no other state really stands out. His California donations total $17,000, accounting for just 4% of his campaign cash. Of the $451,000 Cooney has raised so far, he's spent $273,000 and begins 2020 with $178,500 cash on hand. For Williams, of her $439,000 total, she has spent $186,000 and starts 2020 with $253,000 cash on hand. So it appears both Williams and Cooney are well positioned for the push ahead towards the June 2nd primary. Big question now is which candidate can create traction with the voters. The next campaign finance reports are due out March 20th. We'll keep you posted on how the fundraising battle shapes up. In Billings, Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Jay. Now, both Democratic governor hopefuls will be in Billings next Wednesday night for their debate. MSUB's Petro Theater is the site for that event, and Q2's Russ Riesinger will be one of the panelists. The 90-minute forum begins at 6 p.m. and is open to the public.
Democrats don't seem to be giving up on trying to persuade the man who currently holds the office of governor in Montana to make a run for the Senate, and that apparently includes former President Obama. Political reports that Obama met privately with Governor Steve Bullock today in Washington, D.C., where Bullock is in town for the National Governors Association winter meetings. According to the report, Bullock is still undeterred. The filing deadline for the race is March 9th. Many Democrats believe that Bullock would be the best bet for beating incumbent Republican Senator Steve Daines, who's seeking a second term.
Well, President Trump took a victory lap today after being acquitted along party lines in his impeachment trial. The president held up a copy of the Washington Post with the headline, "Trump acquitted," to his supporters today. The president praised his lawyers and congressional Republicans and took several swipes at Democrats.
We were treated unbelievably unfairly, and you have to understand, we first went through Russia. It was all. We then went through the Mueller report.
Now, the president also singled out Mitt Romney, the one Republican who voted against him, calling him a failed presidential candidate.
Tonight, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee is calling for a recanvass in the 2020 Iowa caucuses after embarrassing technical snafus caused confusion and delayed the results. Meanwhile, the numbers are finally in tonight, with 99.9% of the precincts reporting. Former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg and Senator Bernie Sanders in a virtual dead heat, with Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and Amy Klobuchar rounding out the top five. So if this holds, it will be Bernie and Buttigieg splitting up the majority of those 41 delegates. Candidates have until 11 a.m. tomorrow to request a recanvass or recount.
Well, Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire joining us now. Bob, some of us don't really like the snow all that much, but we can be happy we are not dealing with what the South had to deal with.
Wild night tonight from Alabama all the way to South Carolina. Let me show you Doppler radar right now. Look at all these showers and thunderstorms from the Texas Panhandle all the way into Florida Panhandle, all the way up towards parts of South Carolina and Spartanburg. But let me show you what it looked like today. Take a look at the video. We have some incredible pictures here tonight. As you can see, they were trying to hold in the doors. There's tornadoes. There were reports of 3 tornadoes, 3 deaths, and all sorts of downed trees and power lines. Some of these 100-year-old oak trees actually split homes in half because of the weight of the tree. This is what they were looking at, just torrential rainfall. It was a mess down parts of the southeast corner of the country today. Now for us, there was a lot of flooding as well. For us, we're looking at heavy snow moving in. We'll have more about that coming your way in just a few more minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Bob.
Well, the nation is celebrating the return of a female astronaut to Earth.
She also happens to be from Livingston, Montana. Christina Cook's historic time in space broke records for women around the world.
Elise Preston shows us the landing and what Cook hopes comes of the attention.
Christina Cook, your record holder. She is out. Thumbs up and a huge smile.
Christina Cook radiated joy as she took her first breaths of fresh air. The American astronaut is home after spending 328 days in space.
Feeling the sand, feeling the wind, those are things that you can't really replicate up here, so I can't wait to be out in nature.
As she prepared to make her journey back to Earth, the veteran of 6 spacewalks spoke to CBS News.
Definitely the other thing I'm going to miss the most is being able to do this whenever I want.
She'll also miss working with the space station crew. A heartwarming goodbye hug shows the coworkers are more like family. But Cook told CBS she was looking forward to this moment, descending in the Soyuz capsule with fellow astronauts Alexander Skvortsov and Luca Parmitano to a foggy landing in Kazakhstan.
My friends all tell me that the ride under the parachutes is the ride of your life.
On the ground and in the cold, crews pulled them from their pods for a quick checkup and their first phone calls. Cook holds the record for the longest single spaceflight for any woman. Her lengthy mission will give researchers new data on how weightlessness in space affects the female body. The 41-year-old Michigan native was also part of the first all-female crew spacewalk.
The amount of support and outpouring of interest from those spacewalks in particular, and in some ways the record-breaking part of the mission, have been overwhelming and in some ways a big surprise.
She hopes with that surprise will come more curiosity about space exploration. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Now, Cook traveled 139 million miles during her voyage, and during that time, she also touched base back here on Earth with some Livingston school kids.
Yes, she did. And we saw that here on Q2. It was awesome. And still to come on the Q2 10 o'clock news, as the coronavirus continues to wreak havoc, more Americans are fleeing the epicenter and finding safety on American Air Force bases.
And in sports, the Grizz basketball men trying to climb back into the conference lead at home tonight. Scott will show us how they did.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.